So when we talk about things like people who crossed over to the other side, you're talking about spirits, you're talking about contacting the other side. That's the veil between worlds. A lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people think that's spooky, scary, dark, pearl clutching. Whereas I'm like, hey, this is the reality of it. So this kind of connects. It kind of has that light and that dark.
All right, so Randa, welcome to our new studio.
Nice.
Are you familiar with it?
A little bit.
So it's been a while. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some interesting things that you've been doing over the past 6 months, year. We get some new items here. We have an oracle deck. Mm-hmm. We have a book. You still have your business.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about first?
We could talk about my oracle deck.
All right, so my first question, the difference between an oracle deck and a tarot deck.
Okay, so a tarot deck has a set 78 cards, the major arcana, and then there's the minor arcana. The oracle decks are a little kind of like whatever you want. So you could have 3 cards, you could have 103 cards, depending on what it is. You can have the message on the card itself and a guidebook, or you could do vice versa. So it's a lot more, I guess, loose. Whereas tarot are they have specific cards. It's the Fool, and they don't change in terms of that. The design might change, the art might change, but the actual structure of the entire deck doesn't change.
So why would somebody choose one over the other?
Some people find that oracle decks could be a little easier to read. Some people use them. Like for me, when I do a full tarot reading, I'll pull an oracle card at the end to kind of put everything together.
I think you did that for me.
I did.
Yeah,
yes,
when we did it.
I did. So that's just kind of what I do. It's just preference. And then I also collect tarot and oracle decks just because some of them I don't even read. I just think the art's really pretty.
Yeah, and being a tattoo artist. And
right.
artist.
Yep.
So why would somebody seek it out? Is because they're looking for answers, they want more confidence, they just like to practice? Because you do these with people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you going to use your own oracle deck to do it?
I already did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Breaking it in. It just depends on the person. If people are going to look for a reading, sometimes they're doing it just because they've never had it done and they just kind of want to see what it's about. A lot of them think it's a little kind of hokey. And they're like, I don't really know what that is. A lot of people come for answers, whether it's, does he love me? Or really deep spiritual guidance. Most time is guidance. So if people come to me, it's for guidance. So same if anybody wants to buy an oracle deck or a tarot deck, a lot of times they pull cards to get answers to questions that they have that maybe they don't want to ask somebody directly.
Now, could there be a difference in the person who's giving the reading? If they're tilted more positively or negatively, is that going to change the interpretation of what card is chosen? Mm-hmm. So for instance, say you're positive and you want to help this person. Mm-hmm. They pull the card, you're going to give it more of a positive spin versus somebody who say is having a very bad day or is just tilted to the negative. And so they're going to give them a negative meaning towards the card, or the card's more neutral?
Cards are neutral. The way the cards are kind of laid out, the way I read, I'm an intuitive reader. I can contact and connect with, ancestors and guides on the other side if it comes up during the reading. To me, a good reader is going to tell you the news you want to hear and the news you don't want to hear.
Kind of like a coach.
Yeah. So if you're going to come to me and you're going to think everything's all foofy light and rainbows, it's probably not, because I consider myself a gray witch, which is I understand light and dark. Without one, you can't have the other. It's yin and yang. So when a reading comes up, your guides are going to tell you, they're going to tell me to tell you what you need to know, whether you want to hear it or not. And you can fight it all you want, but if there's things that need to happen, they're going to happen. So if a reader is putting their own bad mood, bad energy into something, they shouldn't be reading. That's just straight up how that is. If I'm having a day where I'm off and I'm not feeling it, it will affect my reading. So I don't do it, because that's not fair to the person that's coming to me for guidance.
Yeah, and what was the point where you're like, I want to create my own oracle deck? Is it something you've always wanted to do, or?
It's something I've always talked about, and Danny, Big Dan, my Danny, my best friend, he always was like, you should do your own. You should create your own. I just never really had I didn't feel it was time. I didn't have the confidence, Because I'm like, what if people don't like it? Now I'm like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, awesome. You know, if it resonates with you, cool. So I wanted to do something that really shows who I am as a witch, as a person, and as a reader, and the aesthetic that I like. So this is the Veiled Path Oracle. So this works a lot with the Veiled Path. So the veiled means literally you can kind of see things through it. So if you think of a veil, you can kind of see through it, but not fully. So when we talk about things like people who crossed over to the other side, you're talking about spirits, you're talking about contacting the other side. That's the veil between worlds. A lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people think that's spooky, scary, dark, pearl clutching. Whereas I'm like, hey, this is the reality of it. So this kind of connects. It kind of has that light and that dark.
Well, some people believe that you're a very popular person.
Apparently,
this is being an entrepreneur.
We're gonna
an
pause this
author.
because this is ridiculous.
You can keep it in, Kurt. She's very busy.
I'm
I'm glad
shut
she
it
made
off.
time for me today.
I'm gonna shut it off. I forgot to.
So some people believe that, when you talk about people passing over, is that we're still all part of the same spirit, right? And when I say that in the physical plane, that even though you're spirit, you can still interact in the physical plane, right? That's why dogs see things, right? And because of we're humans and the way our frequency works, we don't see things that dogs see or hear, but doesn't mean they're not there. We just can't process them because we don't understand that vibration. But in addition to this, you've also done some ghost hunting as well.
Yeah, a lot of paranormal. On purpose and not on purpose.
So I want one story where you were like surprised, one story maybe you got some answers or whatever, like in that journey.
So one where I was going specifically to...
What's the best one?
The best one, there's a couple of them. So I would say the best ones are inadvertent, that you don't expect. So, and I think I've mentioned this before, I like to go what they call urbexing, urban exploring. Old dilapidated buildings. Particularly, I like old asylums because there's a lot of history there, and I love the building and the architecture.
Probably a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, depending on what it is. A lot of it's traumatic energy because if it's an asylum, they didn't treat people very well. So we went to a place in Connecticut. It was me and Danny and a few other friends of ours, and it was during Samhain, which is Halloween, which that's when the veil between the worlds is really thin, so you can contact the dead like super easy. And I have a video of it. And I'm just moseying along. I'm like, everything is so pretty. It's all the leaves, and it's a Snapchat, believe it or not. So
most people use it for nudes, but
right, I know. I just use it because the ghost. It's also not
nude ghosts.
Nude ghosts. I think
I just created my OnlyFans. Nude ghosts.
You can't see it, but you can feel it.
Literally.
It's called a succubus. Anyway, so I take the video. I'm like, this is really cool, and I pan up to one of the buildings that are just kind of caving in, and you hear in the background, you hear, "Go back." And I didn't hear it while it was happening. I was like, that's cool. I downloaded it on my phone and I played it and you could hear it because we call that an EVP. And got all excited. I'm like, oh my God. So that was loud and clear. You can really hear it. Another one was actually at my shop. Please don't be afraid if you come to my shop. It is active there. But
it's active there because...
Probably because of me.
It followed you? Okay.
Well, no. Well, I'm...
So balls fall off the wall here, I know.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I took a video of my dog, and it's me and Danny, and it's quiet. It was after hours. We're getting ready. I was just chilling out, about ready to go home. And I was taking a video of Dean, and I'm like, who's here? This and that. And he gets all excited, and he grabs a ball, and he runs to the door, and you hear a growl. And it wasn't a dog growl. It was something completely not human. Who's that? Who's that? Somebody showing that ball. Go get it. Go get it.
Did you hear it? Or
No,
was it...
I heard it when I downloaded it. I didn't hear it when that happened.
Okay.
So those are the ones that I have actual video evidence. Another one, we went to another asylum and you can hear, we were just taking pictures. So we weren't actively looking. We were just taking pictures and Danny was taking video and we could hear people talking and he got that on video. And he goes, that's not me. Can we have video of that too?
Do you get nervous?
No, the only time I get nervous is when they decide to show up and stick their face in my face at 5 a.m.
Okay.
That scares
Because
me.
we talked before on the podcast that you see,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually kind of interesting because ever since I had the open heart surgery, I start to see things that aren't there. Now, I don't know why, but out of the corner of my eye, I start seeing I'm like, okay, there's somebody there, but there's somebody not there.
Shadow people.
It happened before, like a little bit, but now it happens way more. And I've kind of got accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't scare me,
No.
but you feel like you see movement.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not there. And it's happened really frequently since I've had.
Well, you got to figure they open up your heart chakra.
Literally.
Literally open up your heart chakra.
Yeah.
So and then they worked on it. So that part's all open. So your chakras might be all, as we call, shakwad.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, but
you can't, that's the thing. It's like, now, seeing the shadows on the corner of your eye, that's, that could be an anomaly, on a realistic scientific standpoint, because not everything is paranormal.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it is.
Yeah, maybe my frequency is a little elevated now, where I can see, things that I didn't see before. For you, we also wrote a book.
Yes. Yep.
And the book is on?
It's on pretty much a little bit the basics of how I do witchcraft. It's a really simple read for people like me who really don't have I have the brain capacity, but not so much the attention span to read giant books that are really wordy. So it's also my first book I ever wrote. So essentially what I did is I had witchcraft lessons for years. I've had these, and I wanted to put it into something where people can just
lessons that you learned and created?
Over time that I created. Yeah,
Okay.
that I created. So this is called the spiral path. And notice I like paths. I like things that path because everything has its path. You kind of go certain ways. So this talks about, how spirituality and witchcraft in particular, because that's what I practice, is not a one size fits all type of thing. So you could buy a book on Wicca. I'm not Wiccan. I have no problem with people who are Wiccan, it just doesn't resonate with me, but there's certain aspects where you, as the person seeking this type of path, you don't have to have a specific box you can put yourself in unless you want to. So it's really, it gives journal prompts. So it helps people think a little bit. And it's pretty much for just about anybody, even if you don't want to practice witchcraft.
So how would it help somebody? Well, let's back up for a second. The connotation of witchcraft for maybe a lot of people is that it's evil or that it's, the devil.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Now, we're not trying to convince them. I'm just saying, how would you describe it?
Well, most people, like you said, when they think about it, they think it's, evil, bad, this and that.
Because I think after our last podcast, people thought I was a witch, and they were asking me.
Well, you're honorary. He's an honorary warlock.
I was just dressed up. I'm cool. But
right. So it's one of the, this is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but this is, if you look on a historical standpoint, there were more early humans had polytheistic worshiping. So deities, female, male, also because they had, they had the sun, they had the moon, they had all this, and everything was nature based. And this goes from all over the world, even here. Whereas Catholicism or any other kind of religion in that sense is more monotheistic. Basically, we work with energy, but so when you pray,
yes,
you're meditating.
You're setting
when
an
you pray,
intention.
when you ask your God, you ask your universe, you ask anything for help, for guidance, you're all doing the same thing. So one of these cards is called web. So we're all in this web and we're all connected. It doesn't matter who you pray to, whether you believe in stuff or not, whether it's God, Jesus, Allah, the flying spaghetti monster, whatever it is. Hanukkah Harry or Hanukkah Bob.
He's coming up.
Yeah. It's really, it's all in how you as a vessel feels and what resonates with you.
Yeah, and I think if it helps you in any way, you should use it.
Right.
If it's not harming anybody else.
No, and I think anybody who is open to learning about other spirituality, other religions, other faiths on an educational level, you're going to be more open to understanding that we're all pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah, I often say that we're humans and we all go through our struggles and our contrasts, which is why it doesn't make sense that we fight each other, because at the end of the day, it would just be nicer if we all tried to help each other out.
Pretty much. It'd be a lot easier, I think.
And to push against things you don't prefer doesn't make sense when the locus of control is on what you do prefer.
Right.
you know, and what you can do to help yourself and help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So any path that you're taking, whether it's, you know, tarot cards, oracle cards, whether it's praying, whether it's going to church, if it's helping you and making you a better person, like, I believe you should do that.
Absolutely.
You know?
You're right.
Listen, like, the dojo's my church.
Right.
You know, this is where I've met the most.
What I would tell them now is, if you let your ego aside and you open it up a little bit more and you put the work in and you maybe work with pieces you don't really necessarily want to do because you think it's going to ruin your portfolio, you know, maybe you need to kind of reevaluate that a little bit and understand that this is a business.